Well, at this point, to set the ball rolling on the program, we're being joined in the studio by a regular on the show, Mr. Ben Agunloye, who is a political affairs analyst, a regular on the program, and a friend of the station. A very good morning to you, Mr. Ben.
Good morning.
Looking sharp, I must say, this morning.
Thank you.
Thank you for finding the time to come around. Well, it is concerning the 2027 general elections. We have seen the PDP holding its NEC meeting, which even some persons within the party have disagreed with, and it decided to zone the presidency to the south. However, on the other hand, the All Progressives Congress is saying that the party's presidential ticket still remains open, despite the endorsement of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu by the party. What do you make of this situation?
Well, I think it's a simple case.
Yeah.
A simple case of we're sure what direction we are going. However, we do not want to be accused of being dictatorial or shutting out others. But basically, we know if it was difficult to defeat the president in a primary where he was out of government, then I'm not sure how easy it will be for any candidate to defeat him
as
in
an
a primary as an incumbent. So I think that they are just more like, do we say play to the gallery, or trying to, the Bible will call it fulfill all righteousness. To say we have not shut people out. If you are interested, you can come and contest. And that is more like contrasting what the PDP did in 2014 when they said no, they have only one presidential application form, and that is printed for Jonathan, no other person. So you should have given others the opportunity to try, but it's not unlikely that anybody will upstage the incumbent in our political party system.
But let's talk about the reality on ground. I understand that the president almost has the APC at the tip of his fingers. He has the APC, wrapped around his hand. And you said that if it was difficult to defeat him when he was not even president during the primaries in 2023, then how much more now that he is the incumbent?
Incumbent, yeah.
Do you still think that there might be some persons who might maybe decide not to play to the gallery and want to forge ahead and vie for the presidency within the All Progressives Congress? You never can tell.
Well, I wouldn't be surprised with that. The APC is a conglomeration. People had come from different places to align. And yes, officially they have returned their certificate as parties to the government. But whether we like it or not, the CPC elements are still CPC wherever they are. The ABGA elements are still ABGA elements. The new PDP that had not returned to PDP are still there. The AMPP guys are still together in some form of things.
So
anybody from any of the formative organs of the party can decide to say, look, we want to challenge the system, we want to test our popularity, and go ahead. But like I said, I doubt the possibility of any such person being able to win.
Now we've seen quite some endorsements being poured in for the Tinubu-led administration ahead of 2027 general polls, even from other political parties. We saw the governor of Anambra State talking about Professor Chukwuma Soludo endorsing the president ahead of 2027, and just recently the chairman, national chairman of ABGA, also stated that ABGA may not field the presidential candidate in 2027. Is it safe to say that while the APC is throwing an open ticket, some other political parties, opposition political parties who seem to have aligned with the administration of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu are also technically deciding not to field any presidential candidates so that it will be a free ride, a smooth ride for the president in 2027?
Well, we may want to say it this way. APC is trying to say, look, we are a democratic party. We would allow internal democracy. I think that's what they are saying.
Yes.
To what extent that is practicable, I think is a different situation.
Yeah.
Now, when you come to the other parties as well, they are just more like, look, we don't have a candidate that is serious enough.
Yes.
Now, there are also that concept of governors not ready to spend their state money to campaign for anybody.
Yeah.
So for any of these parties, I still will tell you that if somebody come in today, call tomorrow with the right resources and the capacity to fund this campaign, the chances are that he will still get the party ticket.
Now, while we hold on to that conversation, individuals like the former president, Dr. Goodluck Ebele Jonathan, whom you mentioned while you were speaking, that the PDP had printed just one presidential, ticket for him back in 2014, and a lot of people have ascribed that to the reason why the PDP is still in shambles till today. The rift between him and the PDP governors who staged the walkout and all of that. But considering all of those crises, the former president is saying that there is a need for some sort of electoral reforms that will stop politicians from jumping ships at random, skipping from the PDP to the APC, or from the APC to the SDP or ADC. This is what the former president is saying.
We have a political culture.
Yeah.
Right? Now, I would always say this, when you have a system that does not agree with your culture, that would always be challenged.
Yeah.
I think it was Fela in the late 70s or the early 80s.
Yeah.
He was talking about democracy, and he said, who is the teacher of government? Culture and tradition. That wherever you go, what you find as the tutor for the government is culture and tradition.
Yeah.
But for us, the American system is not our culture and tradition. We are a parliamentary people across Nigeria. Whatever way you would define the parliamentary, whatever way you would define the representation, we are a people that build from the grassroots. You need to have a base. You need to have some form of recognition for you to be able to go out. But with the American system, you can start from the top and try to force yourself on the people. And so, as long as you are permitted to come in at any level and force yourself on the people, then it can always be bread and butter politics. You buy the bread, you buy the butter, you put it together, you eat. But our traditional foods, we all know that we don't eat them raw.
Yes.
They are not available off the shelf. Somebody has to do the real cooking.
Yeah.
The real cooking has to happen, whether it is with our vegetables or with our local food. There is a process of cooking. And so, because people can start from the top and force themselves on the people, then they can jump ship to wherever they think the bread and butter is. So I think we need more of a system change. In between 1999 and 2003, I did remember that the governor of Borno, Malakashala, left the APP to join the AD, and he lost the next election. Yeah. Why? Because it wasn't him that owned the party. The party belongs to the people, and so the people can determine what to do and what not to do. And the support that he had was coming from the grassroots. But what happened in that environment would not happen in several other places. You see the governor in other places in Edo, a few weeks to election, the governor Dikam went to PDP, carried the party there and won. And we saw that happen in some other places. Yeah. But the practical reality is, it's not about preventing people from moving. It is about building what is organic, what resonates with our people. The chances are that if we were a parliamentary people, when you jump ship you cannot automatically even access leadership in the new party. You have to go back and queue. And so because you will need to go back and queue, you definitely will not jump the ship anyhow.
Now, Mr. Ben, while we are also trying to x-ray, this whole concept of whether or not our democracy aligns with our traditions and how, our political landscape has been, for the longest period of time, the APC is saying that due to the last landslide victory in the recent by-elections, it's an automatic, reflection of the electorate's fate in the Tinubu-led administration and also in the party. Now, mind you, following the by-elections, opposition parties like the PDP, opposition parties like the ADC, the NNPP, even individuals, public individuals heavily criticized the by-elections due to some irregularities that they had mentioned. How do we balance this up? On one hand, APC is saying the by-elections show that people love us. On the other hand, opposition members are saying the by-elections were faulty.
Well, when you come to sampling, when your sampling is not right, the chances are that the deductions you are making from the sampling will be wrong. In clear terms, maybe apart from Taraba, I didn't see much changes in several other places. In Oyo, the PDP had some stronghold, and the PDP won the only election that happens there. So what we've seen more is that we are back to an era where the governor seems not to lose in their environment. So APC seeing it as a symbol of acceptance, maybe not too agreeable to me. But when you say it, maybe more of a dominance of the governors in their territory, that is a more reflection from what those results show than most other things we may want to talk about. Yes, there might be some measure of tolerance. Tolerance is not equal to acceptance. Lack of preparedness on the part of the opposition. Yes, we can blame APC for the opposition not being prepared, but they should not expect that the opposition will remain in the limbo they presently are in by 2027. People have left some other parties to go into ADC. ADC is emerged in some crises they have not settled down. And so to a large extent, therefore, you cannot, APC should not judge itself by the performance in that election. Rather, they need to still know that 2027 election is theirs to lose. They still need to perform and impress the people. Otherwise, they should forget a re-election.
Well, interesting take, Dr. Ben. Let's move on to the People's Democratic Party away from the APC. We hear that ahead of November's convention, which is set to take place in Ibadan, there are some, contentions. One, it is the fact that 13 states are yet to conduct congresses, PDP states, and also that the Wike camp is rejecting the Ibadan location while giving conditions for NEC to hold. Bala Mohammed of Bauchi is saying that despite all of this, the party is still on track. On one hand, the APC seems to have its house in order, but PDP continues to scramble with so many challenges and difficulties from all angles.
Yes, PDP had crisis, no doubt, but if they emerge from the crisis, hopefully by their November convention, they may come out a stronger party. But you need to also know that in the APC camp, there may seem to be what we call relative peace. But sometimes it's like the calmness of the ocean with a lot of undercurrent going on. APC have these elements who cares about themselves and not really about the party. We saw how they lost in Zamfara in 2019. We saw how they couldn't present candidate in Anambra, or in Rivers in 2019. We saw how they lost Oshun. We saw how they lost Edo. some years back.
Yeah.
So you will see that those traces and tendencies are there of some individuals who do not care about the party.
Yeah.
They would rather aggrandize themselves at the peril of the party. So the APC need to watch out for that. You could have managed them and put them in some corners for now, but take note, the fact that you have caught the tail of a snake does not mean that the snake is dead.
Yeah. Well,
so that's that for them.
Coming down to PDP.
Now, coming down to PDP, Bala Mohammed has been a strong party man, and I think if he's saying things, we need to listen to him. He's been able to hold his own, being able to even win a Bauchi state with Buhari around tells you that to an extent he's got some measure of political clout. Yes. Now, of course, when you say the convention is a big event. It's more like a money spinner for the host.
Yes.
We knew when Wike insisted it has to be held in Port Harcourt when he was governor. Now, when we go by it today, Sheyi Makinde or Bala Mohammed, those will be like, for me, the two Irokos, the two standing timbers in the party. So if any of the two is requesting to host, and given their popularity and their control in their domain, I think that nobody should have a fuse. Yeah. But yes, we understand that the Wike camp can decide to say, look, we do not seem to agree to these tendencies. Yeah. When Wike said they should come to Port Harcourt, it wasn't everybody also that agreed. I think even Atiku was a bit reluctant initially. To go but to eventually, for the convention. Yes, they went there. So if Makinde is requesting to host, I think that they should allow him. Yeah. Ibadan has the space, Ibadan has the facilities, have everything, and possibly the largest city in Nigeria. They have as much as 11 local government as against 8 in Kano. Oh. Because number of local government in the municipal also tells you to an extent the capacity or the strength of the people and the population that are there.
Well, if we go by the number of local government areas, Adamawa should be the choice place.
No.
Considering that it has about 31 local government areas.
No, we're not talking about number of local government in the state.
Yes.
Municipal local government areas. Okay. Ibadan has 11. Kano has 9. I'm not sure any other state capital or any other city in Nigeria had up to 6. Oh. So it tells you that Ibadan had a massive coverage. Yes. So in terms of hotel, in terms of facilities, in terms of resources, they should be able to host just any event. And a party convention is not so super huge that they should not be able to host it.
Now if you recall the zoning of the presidency to the south that had sparked off a lot of debates, especially from the northern region, where groups like the Arewa Consultative Forum had heavily criticized it, saying that it is unconstitutional, both violating the constitution of the country and also violating the party constitution. The Arewa Youth Group said that it might pave way for President Tinubu's re-election in 2027 if the decision is not rescinded on. However, the PDP is also intensifying efforts or its moves to woo former President Goodluck Ebele Jonathan into the party, to give him the presidential ticket ahead of 2027. Is this a viable option for PDP?
Well, if the law had not constrained him, I think that his coming back may be a rallying point for PDP. But that is actually not an assurance that the PDP will be able to win the election. But I also even think that with the amendments we have done to the Constitution, he will not be able to run, having been sworn in as president twice. He's been sworn in as president twice, so by the current law, I think that he is not qualified to contest.
But that has always been a bone of contention. The argument is that the first time he was sworn in as president, he was sworn in to to finish off the
Yes.
tenure of his boss, the late Umar Musa Yar'Adua. And then the second time was when he contested and won the election. He was supposed to have yet another tenure of him actually contesting and winning. It's about actual participation in the election, not taking over from your predecessor due to, natural causes.
Well, for the vice president and president, it's actually a joint ticket. They both campaign for that seat. You couldn't have a presidential candidate or a governorship candidate in Nigeria without the deputy.
What does the
because you will look at that for Bayelsa, it was the deputy that had issue.
Yes.
But the governor was not sworn in. Do you understand?
Yes.
Now, what the current law says is if you complete the term, I think that amendment was done by the Saraki-led Senate.
Okay.
Perhaps for whatever primordial reason, but that has been passed into law and has been signed to say that if you complete the tenure of your joint ticket holder, you can only recontest once. I think that is what the status of the current law is.
So that prohibits him from running for political office.
So the argument some are proving for him is to say that, okay, perhaps his own had happened before the law was passed.
Yes.
But the constitution is 1999 constitution as amended, not 2024 or 2022 constitution. So if it's 1999 as amended, everything that happens between 1999 and now is fully covered. So I think that holds that space for him. Like I said, if the law had not limited him, he would be a good choice for the PDP. But that doesn't make it that he could win. That's my opinion. Now, when you also come to those who are saying, look, don't zone to the south, it is because they have a feeling that if you don't zone to the south, then if you have a northern candidate from the main opposition party, then what you expect is that there will be a regional support for the candidate from the north. And so that gives them, as an opposition party, a bigger hope that they can
individuals like Olawepo Hashim, who isn't in the PDP, by the way, is saying that the PDP zoning decision won't stand. I want you to hold on to that, Mr. Ben. Meanwhile, the PDP, in trying to defend itself, said that zoning the presidency to the south is not an act to glorify the FCT minister, Nyesom Wike. Now, if you remember, in 2022, the decision of Wike and the G5 governors for the presidency to be zoned to the south, and then it was zoned to the north. That is that. And also, of course, Bala Mohammed, who is still saying that the decision to zone it to the south was as a result of the necessity for a sacrifice to be made for unity to stand. All of these comments coming in from different angles. How do we balance them up?
Well, when you come to the PDP, I think far back in 2002, they seem to have had that arrangement for rotation. However, I knew when Jonathan was contesting, he called that decision that the meeting was, he said, where the purported meeting, a purported zoning decision was taken. I think that was the language he used in the press media. Obviously, he represented the governor of Bayelsa as deputy governor in that meeting where that decision was taken to say, look, let's give Obasanjo a second term, and then the North can have their 8 years, and then he can come back. So it was we'll call it a peaceful or a gentleman agreement to foster unity within the party and to move things forward. So it's not a written law, so to say. But however, there is also no law that says that you cannot agree by consensus within the party to do certain things. So based on that, like I said, those who are opposed to it are afraid of the fact that the PDP will likely not be able to get a candidate from the south who will be who will gather enough support to be able to defeat the incumbent. So I think those who are talking about don't zone to the south are looking in the direction of defeating the incumbent. So they are not interested in whatever other things that are there. Their own goal is, we've been out of power for too long, we need to be back on power. And you know that whether we like it or not, I would always insist that the PDP was dominated more with what we will call the establishment people. Establishment people have the state and the government do things for them. They don't do things for themselves or for anybody.
Yeah.
And so being out of government continuously for 10 years has decimated their capability, and a lot of them are already hungry to return back to the days pre-2015.
Yes.
And so they will do anything that they consider possible to bring them back to power is what is right. Whatever will not fall within the calculation of returning them to power is wrong.
Well, interesting analysis here by Dr. Ben concerning the APC.
Sorry.
Sir? Mr. Ben, concerning the APC and the PDP and, political chess gameplay ahead of the 2027 general elections. Now, let's move away from politics to a very concerning matter within the education system. The federal government, today we hear, is planning to have a sit-down with ASUU to discuss plans to avert its proposed planned strike action. An ex-vice-chancellor of the University of Lagos had earlier revealed that about 239 first-class lecturers decided to quit the university, UNILAG, due to what he described as poor pay. Now, this has been a very huge bone of contention across the country, Dr. Ben. I will say Dr. Ben again. Well, Mr. Ben, the education system is in trouble. A lot of things are, stemming up every now and then. If it's not ASUU today, it's lecturers quitting, it's protests. There's always a problem. But with the meeting today, are you seeing a headway?
Well, I pray there will be a headway.
Yeah.
Now, the issues are straightforward. Across all our sector and system,
yes,
we have issues, and there are prayers. Unfortunately, between 2007 and now, we had focused more on empowering the bureaucracy within the university system or within the education environment than putting the resources where they belong.
Yes.
Yes, we've budgeted more money has gone into education, but within that 2007 and now we've had a case of moving from 6334 to 694, which increased the number of principals and vice principals from 3 to 6. So we have a loaded top. You have to start partitioning within the school and do a number of other things. You also go to the university from about 39 or thereabout at that time. Today we have 72 federal universities. Again, loading the top. Because for every new university, the vice chancellor will come, a university librarian will come, bursar, registrar, deputy vice chancellor, a number of other directors. Whether there are students or not, this number of people
will be there.
Even in some cases, you've had more staff than students, which the minister himself has alluded to. So to a large extent, we have issues. But are the issues resolvable? The answer is yes.
Yeah.
What should be the approach to it? The approach will be that we need to continuously de-emphasize loading the bureaucracy and applying the funds to where the need are. The universities have lands. No university in Nigeria as of today is admitting 20,000 students. But the University of Cairo can admit 50,000 students in a session.
Wow.
There are faculties that are as large as 30,000 people. But they don't have the land available to University of Ilorin, available to University of Abuja, available to University of Ife.
How were they able to achieve this feat?
It is building your infrastructure, using the available capacities. Now, today you've got so many PhDs that are awarded and
not earned.
Yeah, even if you say people have worked for them and maybe write the report, did the research, but this research are not elsewhere being used for anything. The papers are just there in the university gathering dust. But elsewhere in Europe, you apply to some universities, you want a PhD, they want to be sure, right, that you have a sponsor for the PhD. And when you are done with the research, it will be developed. So it is not just research, it is research for development. So sometimes it is partly funded, and those who are supervising those projects, the lecturers supervising those projects, of course, get some form of funding directly from the industry. But the question in Nigeria today will be, how many projects are in our universities being funded, right? Deriving its funding from the corporate sector. The maximum you get, somebody come and build a hall. No. There has to be some continuity. Okay, we are into cocoa research, or we are into machine research, we are into road research as a business, and then you are partnering with the university. And so some lecturers are responsible, and then students apply to be part of that research, and then the research grants and fundings come into the system. When you check our system, how much are we attracting from outside the government sources? How much are the universities getting from the government? So the capacity utilization is lacking, and that should be a place to deliberately focus on. Let's check out today TED Fund. How much do we spend for bureaucracy in TED Fund? TED Fund is an initiative of ASUU. But today, how much goes into bureaucracy for TED Fund? How much goes into the institutions? When you compare it, you will realize that we are deliberately creating and funding bureaucracy rather than applying these funds to the direct area of need.
Now, in terms of applying these funds to the direct areas of needs, the federal government had initially said that it was going to create a loan scheme for lecturers in Nigeria. Now, this is something that ASUU refused. ASUU decided that they don't want it. They don't want a loan. They just want better pay. They want better pension schemes, not loan schemes. These funds that we are talking about being pushed into the right place, something like a loan for the lecturers, is it a viable solution? Maybe not a long-term solution, but something to, support and add succor to the plight of the lecturers.
Well, I would not agree to giving lecturer loans. These guys have intellectual capacities. These guys have research that they drive. So fund the research as against them going to look for money to do it. Back in school in those days, I remember when we were looking at solid state, a small substrate or solid state was at that time costing about £5,000. Now, £5,000 in today's price, the price would have been a little higher, but £5,000 in today's money, how do you expect a lecturer and two students
to earn it,
to raise that fund? So if that facility is made available, that okay, this is a solid state research lab, okay, we cannot afford to build for all the universities, let's just build in one university of technology per geopolitical zone, and then other students in the environment who need to do such things can leverage on it. That happens across the world. You're going to find a single hospital somewhere in the UK serving 2 or more universities. It's a government owned hospital built to the required standard, and the staffs are there. So students come from both universities across the region or across the environment to do whatever they need to do for all their clinicals, and then for their academic whatever, they go back to their school. So it is putting the infrastructure in place, not giving me the loan. No, build the lab, Don't give me the loan to go to South Africa or Zimbabwe or Tanzania or India.
Are the loans going to be enough for them to even travel? Because it seems like the loans are not, you know, quite heavy loans that will be enough for anything to be done.
So they don't need stipend. They need you to put the facilities in place. Let there be that town and gown relationship.
Yes.
We know government is funding this.
You had mentioned this one time about you know, creating that clear-cut line between the town and the gown. Yeah.
So when the relationship is there, you know that by the time you embark on this project, yes, you will need to write your research requirement. When you write and it is approved, yes, the fund is made available and applied for the purpose. So if we are saying, oh, Kefi, because you have so much solid minerals around, let's have a center for excellence, maybe to demonstrate lithium batteries, yeah, or to do something with solar panel and the rest of that. You go to Niger, you look at, okay, what can we work on here? And then it becomes a primary assignment of the university. Yeah. You check the north of UK, for instance, you're going to see an RGU, University of Aberdeen, because they are on the North Sea, where the oil headquarters of Europe seems to be. A lot of their research are also prone in that direction, and they have corporate sponsorship for majority of those things. And so if we get to that level, where projects, especially the research, especially at the doctorate level, yeah, at the PhD level, is targeted to solve specific problems. And the fund is not coming from the researcher or the supervisor. Then you realize that when the job is completed, it will be put to use because somebody has paid for it. But when a student pays for it, it's more like he has paid to acquire a certificate. And when he gets out of there, that knowledge material continue to gather dust.
Well, Dr. Ben, we have, well, you might have to pardon me when I call you Dr. Ben. I think I'm speaking it into existence at this point. Mr. Ben, another pressure group that has always been in the news for strike actions is the NLC. The NLC this time around is knocking it out with PENCOM, while, you know, slamming PENCOM over what it described as a pension governance vacuum. Now, some couple of days ago, there were some allegations made, you know, by the NLC where it had accused PENCOM of, you know, in-house fraud and board crisis. What do you make of the situation? And is it safe to say that maybe what the NLC is accusing PENCOM of internally is really happening, and PENCOM is just maybe putting up a charade to distract Nigerians from the real problems within? Well,
there would always be problem within, there would always be problem around, and there would always be problem beyond. Yeah. Whether we like it or not, those three forces must always be in existence. Now, when you come to PENCOM, what is my personal opinion about their monitoring and corporate governance? Yeah. I don't think whatever they are doing is perfect enough. In this country, so many companies exist that have staffs, make deduction from their staffs, and such monies are not remitted for 3 years, for 4 years, for more. And such companies do not get. You wait for people to come and submit reports for you then to get PENCOM clearance. Yeah. I don't think that is sufficient. People have registered with
the organizations.
PENCOM, that's with pension schemes. Yeah. Now, what reports are they taking from the pension scheme quarterly? If these people have been registered, yeah, and they are working, and they are in this organization or in that, and then no remittance came for a whole year, there should have been a point where the red flag should come up to say that something is wrong here, and then you can deal with that, rather than wait for only people. The people who come to PENCOM for clearance yearly are possibly those who want to pursue government contracts and who are looking for compliance. Yeah. And even in some cases when they come, it is not like they declare all their staff. They declare 4 or 5 pay the 3 months, whatever, and then you give them clearance, and then they can.
Now, due to this issue, the NLC is also demanding a constitution, an immediate constitution of both PENCOM and the NSITF.
Yeah.
While other individuals, civil experts, society experts are calling for legislative reforms to PENCOM itself. Now, we have about 3 minutes to wrap up. Can you give us an elaborate, viable solution to this issue? Are these reforms being called for necessary at this time?
Definitely we need reforms, both to the NSITF, even to the NHF, and to PENCOM.
Yeah.
These are things that the masses contribute to. A lot of people contribute all their work life, and when they retire, they don't even know what happened to some of these contributions. Yeah. So there has to be a monitoring framework, a balanced data set where you can actually check and track. Thank God we have NIN today. We have what's the name of the other one? BVN. We have NIN, we have BVN. Yes. So we should be able to track what have we taken from people, what are they meant to have in return. And so when that is done and is done properly, it becomes difficult for organizations to play prank on the people. It becomes also difficult for pranking to happen within PENCOM or within NSITF. So basically, I think that we need to do some new law, and that law must bring into place data gathering, monitoring, and evaluation, so that you know that from time to time you can actually check the statistics. Yeah. How many, because it's actually those databases that should tell us how many people are actually employed. Now, when employers are not remitting, it is likely that they are having internal crisis, or they have deliberate fraud, or they are not even paying the staff their salaries. And that should talk about the health of the different sector itself, and the different organization. And then we can do a better monitoring and a better management, because these things are planned for the future of the people. Yeah. But they are being mortgaged. The people get into the future without seeing what they have saved for, or without even having the right understanding of what benefit should accrue to them from being part, particularly of the NSITF. I think a few people still struggle to pursue pension, but I doubt if there are people actively pursuing anything from the National Social Investment Trust Fund.
All right, Mr. Ben, I must say that I wish we had more time to carry on this conversation, but you have done justice to this. This is where we would let you go. It's been a pleasure, always a pleasure having you here in the studio with us to have these conversations. Thanks so much. And please, to our viewers, he is Mr. Ben, not Dr. Ben, but a Dr. Ben in the making. So during the course of the Morning Express, I believe one day when I call him Dr. Ben, it will be very appropriate. Mr. Ben Agunloye, Public Affairs Analyst, here in the studio with us. He has been speaking to us concerning matters of political interest, from the All Progressives Congress endorsement of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu and the decision to throw in an open ticket ahead of the 2027 general elections, and of course to the PDP's convention in Ibadan come November.